Ladies and gentlemen, am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmer's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. About 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain's conferring with someone. Can't quite see who. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. Flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Oh, Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks of the automobiles, spreading everywhere. It's coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who, disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Okay, hey, it's Walter. I'm back again. I wasn't sure. I had a couple ideas for what kind of program I wanted to put together tonight. Now, I just started recording the show more than once, and I thought to myself, let me just check these levels, because you know what I did? Idiot me. I plugged the headset into an output for, or an input for an instrument. You know, not for the audio, but for actually putting a feed into the little, what is this called again? iTrack Solo. So it was like, I couldn't figure out why it's not working. Anyway, that beginning, the intro that I had put together tonight, boy, this is really wearing me, but I will suffer through. And hope the sound level is okay. Yeah, that intro, by the way, I was trying to look for one. Somebody brought it to my attention, or whatever you want to say, about there was a thing back in 1918 called the Spanish flu. I almost said the Spanish fly. But the Spanish flu, and I wasn't quite sure about everything behind that, but this is kind of similar, but not quite the same. And I figured, you know what, maybe I'll just do one on that. But I was trying to look for a commercial, a radio announcement, probably from back in 1918, if one existed. And I was going to use that for the intro because I think it's going to be mainly about the Spanish flu thing and how it relates to what's going on today. I don't know what I'm going to pick for Matt's music either, so it's going to be a surprise for both you and I. So I can't even announce the piece I'm going to pick tonight because I'm trying to look right now, and I knew there was something I forgot, and guess what it was? Picking a piece of music for the end segment. So not important right now, but I will do so later. And again, I'm sorry because I won't be able to give the name unless I do a pause real quick at the very end and come back on and end it that way. So anyway, there was some interesting stuff that I learned. By the way, it was funny. This was, to me, it was like a serendipity for me. Not saying that's the proper way to use the word, but I was using tonight or this afternoon, because I'm back on a PC. I was using, they changed it from Explorer to a new program for Windows. I haven't been on Windows in such a long time, I couldn't tell you what it is. Microsoft Edge. I'm looking at it right now. Well, they have something, because Edge, basically, the Microsoft Edge program for web browser was basically, it's Google Chrome. I mean, that's all that it is, with a little bit of a change, I guess. Microsoft might have made some slight window dressing. I don't know what it is, but whatever they did is they have something on the program. You can go to any web page. Like, this is one thing I have a really bad problem with. You can go to any web page, and if you can't read, you get stuck on a word and you're spending most of your time trying to figure out how to pronounce this word on what you're reading, well, don't worry about it, because guess what? Microsoft Edge had added a very clever thing where you can pull up any web page, and it will. I can't even pronounce that word, but auditorial. It will read the page to you out aloud, or whatever you want to say. So, I mean, it doesn't take too much to, I'm very easily amused, or whatever you want to say, but I'll tell you, that is like the best thing. And I showed it to my father this afternoon. I said, hey, listen, you can, how you have sometimes you have a difficult time reading through these articles. I know I do. It doesn't matter what it's on or what web page it is. You don't have to worry anymore, because they have something now that will read the page to you, and it's actually pretty clear. It doesn't sound so mechanical. So I tried it out on a couple different web pages. I showed it to my father. I was even getting more amused by it, because the pages that I was pulling up, it didn't matter what web page it was. It worked. Now, if you're a person like me that was a former or still continuing to use Apple products, don't worry, because that Microsoft Edge web browser, they actually made one now for Apple, and I did put that on my dad's computer. He has an Apple computer. I bought him a few years back, brand new at the time I bought it, was brand new, and it works. It works perfect. So I was really happy about that. So, yeah, I want to go back to, what I wanted to basically make the topic of discussion. Excuse me, that was not the radio thing. That was actually me, which is about the Spanish flu. Not like in great detail, because you don't want that from me, but actually, just make people aware. Something like, to cut to the chase, a guy at work, young guy, he made a very valid point. He felt that what's going on now, it's not as severe as the Spanish flu was. Now, the funny thing is, I'm thinking that Spanish flu is named Spanish. I know it has nothing to do with it. It just got nicknamed that. And now you got a flu now that's named after a Spanish beer. Corona, Corona is a Spanish beer, or whatever you want to say. So I think that was pretty interesting, that there's two viruses that are killing tons of people. Now, the other thing is, Spanish flu came around World War II, probably the beginning of World War II, I guess, because it was 1918. A lot of people died. Millions of people died. I think it was like up to 70 million people. But to give you a little bit of taste, I might even go back and repeat myself. The Spanish flu was really bad, and they did the same thing. This is what kind of caught my attention when the guy said it. People did use or practice social distancing. They, did everything we're doing, kind of, I assume, like what we're doing now. And it worked. It cut back on the Spanish flu. But then people got tired of it, like they are now. And they started, like, I guess, somewhere around World War II or everything. It was like, you know what, enough is enough. And they started crowding together again. And it was a second realm of deaths with the Spanish flu. And this guy works it. I think this might happen with this. You know, people are not following the rules, and they're not letting this take its course, and or getting it that we can find a cure. And it's going to be another realm of more deaths. Again, it's not quite the same because Spanish flu killed over 70 million people, and I think this flu, I looked somewhere, I'll find the number again, I hope, was a little over 1 million. So there's a big difference. 1 million or close to over 1 million people died from the coronavirus, and 70 million died under the Spanish flu. So you're talking a large difference. Anyway, yeah, before I go any further, and like I said, I'm going to try to keep these once a week podcasts as short as possible if I can. One, because I just don't want it to seem redundant, and if there's any issues, there's going to be less of a problem with people listening to an hour show where I don't pick up until after the show's done and I listen back that, wow, I really... something was going on with the audio I didn't pick up on, even on my headset, because that's happened many times. So anyway, last night, apparently, you know, a guy did tell me about it, and it was like, I'm interested. I haven't watched the series completely through correctly, but Joe Bob Briggs was back. Last week was his second season of The Last Drive-In, I think. And the movies he showed are always really interesting. So the one he showed was Heathers. I never knew about the movie. I heard of it. I didn't realize that it had Winona Ryder. Oh, God, I got to look. I did not want to do this. Winona Ryder, Christian Slater. It's come back to me. Christian Slater. He was only, I think, he said he was only Joe Bob. He mentioned Slater, whatever. Slater, I think. He was only like 19 years old when he did the film. And it's a comedy. It's more of a, you know, kind of satire comedy. It's not really a horror. But as badly as the movie was, you know, presented as a like an awful movie, he felt that this movie has a lot of substance, and it needed to be shown. So he showed it last night. Joe Bob. So the background information's always the best part you want to hear about. Like, if you don't even really necessarily love the movie or even like the movie, there's always something to take away from. Like, same thing, I was watching the tail end because I missed most of it tonight, of Singuli. I mean, the stuff that these guys add to the film, the research they put into it, maybe it's a lot, maybe it's a little. And sometimes they show films you can't really find the rent or stream. That's happened in the past, at least with Singuli. But Heathers you can find, I believe, anywhere. But yeah, it was interesting to hear his story on how this came about and how it didn't get a warm reception. And it was actually kind of almost like what you consider a sleeper film. So Heathers was the one he showed, but it was, which really shocked me because I couldn't bring it to the face to the name, was he mentioned another actress in the movie. I didn't even recognize her, actually. She looked completely different. And that one I have to look up. Yeah, Winona Ryder, Christian Slater. Oh, Shannon Doherty. I always get her name wrong, pronouncing it. But yeah, Shannon Doherty, I believe she played in 90210, and I didn't realize. And I guess the name is kind of misleading because, you know, Heathers is actually, because he refers to Joe Bob about Heathers 1 and Heathers 2. I really didn't understand that whole thing, but actually it was just the different classes of, this still goes on today. You have different, like a caste system, even, you've always had one in high schools. So the whole bottom line is, okay, I'm looking at the names. Shannon Doherty played Heather 1, I guess, and Falk, I can't, was that Lisa Ann or Leslie Ann played Heather's 2, I guess. And actually, it was Kim Walker who played Heather also. So, because he made a comment, I guess, at the very end of the movie. If you haven't seen it now, that's too bad. Or if there's any spoilers, the movie came out in 1988. But he was mentioned, I guess, Winona Ryder at the end of the film becomes almost like the new Heather. Like Heather was a title, but actually it was the name of characters in the movie, too. That's why it was called Heathers. So it was kind of interesting. I have not gone back and actually watched the film. I've never seen the film, but I have not seen it this time because I want to watch it to see what Joe Bob has to say. So, yeah, I basically, when I caught wind of that, when I got home from work, it was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I kind of wish I want to go back and watch it, which I'll see maybe tomorrow or tonight. I'll decide. You know what? I'll watch this. I know I'm wasting a lot of time right now because this has nothing to do with the Spanish flu or COVID-19, but I'm so sick of it almost at this point too. I'm sure everybody is. So anyway, why I started with this whole spiel that I just went off on was because I missed most of that. I want to go back and watch it, because I do wanted to see the Joe Bob things. And right after Joe Bob's last drive-in theater was over, there was this movie on. I was like, well, I'm getting ready to go to bed. And I kept it on. It was, interestingly enough, it's a Muslim film, and it's a Muslim horror film. Which that alone kind of got me a little bit dumbfounded because the name of the film is called, and there's another movie with the exact same name that came out a few years prior to this. But it's called Satan's Slave. So don't get it confused. I looked it up to try to find information. I think the guy's name is, or is that the name of the title? Pingaji Satan. Pingaji Satan, but it's basically Satan's Slave is the American way of saying it. That was on right after Joe Bob, and I put it on for background, but yet I found myself getting really interested in watching this film, so I bookmarked it to watch it later. And it reminded me a little bit like Evil Dead. I mean, some of the zombies, there was 3 zombies in this film, and they're a little bit quirky, a little goofy, but it reminded me a little bit of also, it came out in 82, it reminded me of something you would expect from Sam Raimi, like an Evil Dead film. So it definitely had caught my attention. I thought it was really good. Now the ratings are lukewarm, and not even that. Actually, there's a thing on Rotten Tomatoes about this. But I would put this down as a really good B horror movie. Not that it's fantastic. That's why I have to say it's a B horror movie. But and it is subtitles. There's a really hot, it's a family where the mom passes away and this witch brings the mother back to life, and the witch invites herself in the house, not exposing herself as one. She also she kills and brings back other corpses and makes them into her slaves. There she got the name of Satan's Slave, even though she is not Satan herself. The witch wasn't bad looking. It was a brother, daughter, and brother, sister, and father. Mother passed away. Sister's very hot, I thought. Strangely enough, she has a picture of a girl in a bikini thong poster on her wall in her bedroom, the daughter. And that was enough just to get me excited. But I'm like thinking, okay, is this sister like she's hot looking, but is she a lesbian too? Because that's a double plus in my book. I mean, besides that, I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek right now. The movie itself actually really caught my attention. It was like, this is actually pretty effing good. I mean, I think this is actually a great movie. And the weird thing is, I don't understand. This is where I'm going with this thing. And I do want to go back and watch it. Satan's Slave, 1982, a Muslim film. It is damn good, in my opinion, but also, and quirky. I mean, it's better than some of those dumb Italian films I've seen that are just god-awful. You know what kills off this witch, or who's doing the bidding or the work of Satan? Is God. They mention God. So it says, like, you have to read these subtitles, it said a Muslim chant, but they're all praying to God. So I thought that Muslims believe in something completely different, but not in this movie, because all the Muslims in this film were praying to God, and they believed in the devil, obviously, and the only way you got rid of Satan's worshipers and the devil was by praying to God, because they say in the subtitles. And it had a hot girl in there too, who had a poster on her wall of another hot girl's butt. So in a bikini thong. I mean, who needs anything else besides that? At least, well, I can use a few other things I can't mention. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, that was a really good film. Like I said, I want to go back, and I am like fascinated by this film. Now, speaking about Muslim films, speaking about Joe Bob Briggs, he had a film on, I think, first season of his show on Shudder, and I had to look it up because I had to make sure I got the name right. And this movie is great. It is another Muslim film, though, about a vampire. And this film's called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. That's a 2014 movie. It is a horror drama film. And if you are a big David Lynch fan, you will love this film, because it's black and white. Not only that, it is shot just the way some of David Lynch's best film work was done. Now, the director is a female director of this film, and this is she made another film, I believe, afterwards, if I remember correctly, and it was horrible. It was horrible. So she is in film work, as like they say in music, this director is a one-hit wonder. She made one film, a Muslim vampire film, and it was fantastic. I didn't watch the whole thing. The segments I watched made me feel like I was watching a David Lynch film with subtitles. It was the most incredible film, in my opinion, that I've ever seen for a foreign film. And I'm looking right now. Now, on Rotten Tomatoes, they gave it a 96%. And then audience score was 75%, and it was a solid 75 and a solid 96. Now, what do I mean by solid? Simply that if it's like, some critics or viewers thought this film wasn't that great, they will give it like a green tomato, or, kind of a lukewarm rating by viewers. But no, both of those are, for the tomato meter, it is a solid red. That's good. That's really good. And the audience participation is really solid. So that was another one. That was a Muslim film. For some strange reason, it was really good. I liked it. And I don't know why. I have not gone back. And this is like from last year when I first saw this on Joe Bob Briggs, and I never went back. So, and I keep on telling myself, I got to check this film out. I'm like telling everybody else to go see it, which I'm doing again. And yet here I'm being pretty bad about it. I'm not doing it on my own. I pulled up, going back to finally, after almost 25 minutes, I will talk about the Spanish flu. And when I was looking for things, like I was trying to look for a commercial on Spanish flu, or a radio commercial, I should say, something on Spanish flu, the best I came up with. Did I mention this yet? That is Orson Welles, because I made this reference to my friend Matt. He never really responded, but a reference that this whole thing of the news trying to scare the crap out of people on COVID-19 is pretty much what happened with Orson Welles when he was doing a live broadcast of War of the Worlds. Now, they originally said this is not real. This is just a play act on the radio. Well, the part that said this is not real never got broadcasted. So this is why I decided, well, you know what, this is kind of dated. Panicking people is the whole thing that happened, not that it was intentional. With Orson Welles, why don't I just slap that at the beginning? I thought that would be pretty interesting, because I was comparing what happened with Orson Welles, which was an accident, is what's happening with the news, and that's definitely deliberate of scaring people. Because like I said, the stats on this COVID-19 is not even no comparison to what happened with the Spanish flu, but there is a lot of similarities on how it's being handled, almost, as far as people, individuals handling the situation. One side note, I did want to put this in there. I said I was going to make this my cover picture, which I am not now. Was a story that a friend had posted or sent to me by PJ Media. Election 2020, Kristen O'Donnell, niece, says Biden commented on her breast when she was 14 years old. So this was back, I think, when Barack Obama was in office and he was vice president. I don't know. I didn't really read this. On the heels of Biden publicly responding to Tara Reade's sexual assault allegations comes a new allegation from a 26-year-old Eva Murray, who claims that in 2008, then Senator Joe Biden complimented her on the size of her breast at the first state Grinron dinner and show. I got that wrong. Murray was just 14 years old at the time. So, when was this written? Well, it says May 1st, 2020, the story I'm reading. So I did post this on my media sources. But yeah, it basically says back in 2008 that Biden told a 14-year-old that she's got rather nice-looking breasts. So that's a little bit creepy. And that's an understatement, too, by the way. You know what? I don't have this some young girl. It's very funny. Cute girl. She's got on a Biden T-shirt. I mean, you're talking literally. This girl does look like she's about 14 years old. She's wearing a shirt, and it's very funny. It says, hiding from Biden. So, yeah, it literally says, hiding from Biden. Cute girl, and she's got a Make America Great hat on. That's even better. Oh, somebody, I'm looking through my stories. I'm going astray again. There's a story you can find on my Facebook page. Probably, I believe I put it on Twitter, too. Custom-made Friday the 13th electric guitar. It is very awesome looking. Some guy made a Friday the 13th with the Jason mask in electric guitar. It's on my Facebook page. And like I said, my other media, which would be Twitter. Let me see, because I'm just going through. They're doing something, I think next week, they're doing a live streaming where the movies of The Conjuring, which I really like, that's based upon a real house. They're going to do live streaming from the house, I think, coming up next week It's next week, all week, or next weekend. It's one of those. Oh, here is one, too. I'm sorry, I'm still going astray. I see article after article saying HBO is making Hellraiser series from Halloween's David Gordon Green. So they're going to make an HBO TV series out of Hellraiser. Now, that sounds kind of stupid in some ways, but in other ways, it sounds pretty awesome to me because I would be kind of interested. I would definitely be there to check that out. I don't have HBO, but I know a friend who downloads that stuff that I don't have to pay for it, or you can buy individual shows at this point anyway, so I'd probably do something like that. I was trying to look. There was some link for horror merchandise that is really cool, and I can't remember. It's Monster something, but I don't have it, and now I've wasted a good half an hour, and I'll probably be done and have this show do very little with the Spanish flu. Anyway, I'm going to try to get a little in there because that's what it's supposed to be about, not that it is, and I will do my best to stay on topic, which I have not so far. And it probably sounds really like you can't hear me. I hope that's not the case, but you never know. Let's see. The Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, the deadliest in history, infected an estimated 500 million people worldwide. About 1/3 of the planet's population and killed an estimated 20 million to 50 million victims, including some 675,000 Americans. So I had different articles on this, and they said one actually said it could have been more than that. The 1918 influenza pandemic, January 1918 until it was 2 years, December 1920, known as the Spanish flu, was an unusual deadly influenza pandemic, the first of the two pandemics involving H1N1 influenza virus, with the second being the swine flu in 2009. It infected 500 million people around the world, or about 27% of then the world's population, between 1.8 to 1.9 billion people. So it wasn't a few thousand. People infected with the Spanish flu, they were saying, was 1.8 to 1.9 billion people, including people on the isolated Pacific Islands and in the Arctic. So that's really bad. The death toll is estimated to have been from anywhere between 17 million to 50 million, and possibly as high as 100 million. So that, that's a lot worse. You're talking thousands with this one. It goes on and it says more, but I have different sources, so maybe I can, since I'm running lower on time, and I did want to kind of make my shows less than an hour when I can, I will not read the rest. I don't know if you can rely on this source, but it was the Spanish flu information on every little bit that I'm going to read tonight. Most of it is, I hate to say it, is from Wikipedia, and I hear some bad stuff. I just use it because it's very convenient for me. I'm not going to lie. I do it out of convenience, not that it's a reliable source. And I apologize about that. Matt, I apologize for not knowing which song I'm going to pick of yours tonight. In fact, I might just surprise myself and everyone else, and I will just not name it because it's easier said than done. I don't want to jeopardize, because I have to pull up my stuff for Matt. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, I had a couple. I thought I could kind of do it, but it's not working. I'm trying one other thing. Oh, here we go. Matt, I do have your list of music, and you gave me a lot of music, so it's a matter of what I'm going to pick. Not going to name anything yet because I have no clue. And I'm just going to randomly pick something tonight, so I don't know if it's going to be appropriately going to fit the end of this segment or this episode or whatever you want to call it. I have a story here. Not going to read the whole thing. NPR. We haven't learned from history. Radio influenza is a warning from 1918. Again, that was from NPR. That's probably one of the pages I try to pull up looking for a radio segment, and I couldn't find anything. Could not find a damn thing. The last great pandemic struck the world more than 100 years ago, but voices from the time can still be heard in radio influenza, haunted work of audio art available online. And it is about the influenza, though, or the Spanish thing. So I probably could have dug a little bit better than I did, because apparently there might have been some stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to read this whole thing. It is pretty long. For me, it is. Anything over 2 sentences is way too long. But yeah, NPR. And they are kind of like people, this is starting to resurface this information because of the COVID-19. It's starting to resurface. Now, there was one thing, and I was trying to look for what was the difference on how many people died with the Spanish flu the first time around and the second time. So there was an article, which I did find. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I do post most of this stuff on my, I'll make sure I do, at least on Twitter. Okay, because maybe I didn't. But I try to post this stuff on my social media page. Why the second wave of the 1918 Spanish flu was so deadly. The first strand of the Spanish flu wasn't particularly deadly. Then it came back in the fall with a vengeance. That's why people are so afraid of this coming back. This is what this article is stating. Now, the funny thing was, the interesting thing is, they say most of these flus are the people that are most, I'm going to make sure I can try to say this word right, susceptible, are the young and the old. The very young and the very old. Well, guess what? The Spanish flu killed more of younger people than anything else. The largest group of people that died from the Spanish flu were young of age, which was unusual. And there was something that explained why that was, like why this virus was so aggressive towards younger people. They were actually, this virus was attacking people with, according to this one article I read, people with a stronger immunity. I did not say that right, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. A stronger immunity and not people with a weaker one. I've never heard of such a thing, and they did label this, and I can't remember what it was. Let's see. The horrific scale of the 1918 influenza pandemic, known as the Spanish flu, is hard to fathom. I even said that wrong. The virus infected 500 million people worldwide and killed an estimated 20 million to 50 million victims. That's more than all the soldiers and civilians killed during World War I combined. While the global pandemic lasted for 2 years, a significant number of the deaths were packed into 3 especially cruel months in the fall of 1918. Historians now believe the fatal severity of the Spanish flu's second wave was caused by a mutated virus spread by wartime troop movement. So I guess before I read any more, it's probably because of large groups of people, again, being too close together. That's going to be my guess. Because I don't want to go too much further. I'm already 40 minutes into my segment tonight. When the Spanish flu first appeared in early March 1918, it had all the hallmarks of a seasonal flu. It says albite or something like that. A highly contagious, vigilant strand. One of the first registered cases of Albert Gitchell, a U.S. Army cook at Camp Funston in Kansas, who was hospitalized with a 104-degree fever. The virus spread quickly through the Army installation home to 5,400 troops. By the end of the month, 1,100 troops had been hospitalized, and 38 had died after developing ammonia. Not ammonia, I mean pneumonia. I can't even say that word right. And it goes on and so forth. I did just post that story. So the thing is, I don't really agree with the media, but maybe they're doing it because they're using this objective to hopefully, in their mind, to win the election for whoever runs as a Democrat, which at this point we kind of think it's going to be Biden, who likes young kids or anything else that is a female. That's what it seems like. Now, so you're using that objective. Let's cut myself. Hold on a minute. To win the election. It's very political. So that much, I think, is kind of established. But on another note, there may be some good out of this, even though the reason for them doing this is very obvious. They're trying to do this to win whoever runs as the Democrat, which if Biden gets it, you're not going to be looking at Biden. You're going to be looking at whoever is picked as a vice president, because Biden is pushing close to probably in his late 80s or something like that. He's not, even if he's in his early 80s, he's not going to be doing taking the office if he would win for very long. So I've heard this over and over again. You're going to be looking at whoever he picks as vice president. That's going to be your new president if the Democrats win. Now I'm going astray again. But the bottom line is, by scaring people to a small extent, not a large extent, but a small extent, that may actually not be a bad idea, because if you look at the numbers even now in Pennsylvania, you're only talking, the cases are in the thousands. They are not in the millions. So, unfortunately, as bad as the reasoning behind this is, their objective, I should say, is just to win the election. They don't care how they're going to do it, and they're going to scare people. May not be a totally, a completely bad idea, because if you look at it, the death rate could be much worse, and it is not. So again, you have to weigh out, I guess, what could have happened, because I listen to Rush Limbaugh and stuff, and he says, well, people died, but things got back to normal eventually. The only thing was, unless, again, because I did say I get my sources from Wikipedia and other sources too, don't get me wrong, but you're not seeing millions of people dying. You're seeing only, any amount of people that are dying is bad, but I would take probably 100,000 over 100 million. You gotta look at it that way. Maybe that's not the best way to look at things. So anyway, I am getting long-winded again. I want to wrap this up in a few minutes. I'll run. I'll do a lottery and decide which piece of music I'm gonna and go with it. I don't care what it sounds like, because I'm going to eventually get through all Matt's music anyway. Your music, musicteacherguy.com. So anyway, I put in how many deaths from the Spanish flu. How many died from the Spanish flu? No other epidemic has claimed as many lives as the Spanish influenza epidemic in 1918 and 1919. I can actually hear, even though this is prior to Matt listening to it, him probably laughing his ass off on me getting these, pronouncing this stuff wrong. Worldwide, at least 40 million people died as a vigilant illness swept through city after city. Some estimates put the total of deaths closer to 70 million. That was a different source. I don't even know where it was from. Yeah, they most of them say pretty much the same thing. They say it's about 500. Well, this one says Spanish flu, also known as the 1918 flu pandemic, was unusually deadly influenza pandemic lasting from the spring of 1918 through the spring or early summer of 1919. It infected 500 million people, about a third of the world. So, yeah, they kind of, everyone I've read says, obviously, it's history, so it's going to say pretty much the same thing. Now, what do you look for? What do I look for when I see something that's saying the same thing over and over again? Well, one thing, either they're all in the same boat of lying or it's the truth, if the numbers are coming up the same all the time. I would kind of want to say it's the second one. I don't know. I actually found a really cool picture I would rather use. Sorry about that. I found something else I would probably use for a copy image, save image. Sorry about that. And my show should be done in a few minutes anyway, so you don't have to suffer. Alrighty. Yeah, it says the same thing again on the Spanish flu. Reportedly killed 20 million to 50 million people. This is a different source I'm looking at. After the first wave killed 3 million to 5 million people. And that says for... Okay, 3 million to 5 people. A Facebook post claiming the second wave of the Spanish flu killed significantly more people than the first has garnered the attention of the public, worried of a potential future of COVID-19. See, people are kind of trying to compare this. I'm trying to compare this to COVID-19, but it really is not as bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not as bad. Maybe because we are taking such strict measures against it. Now, Pennsylvania is up to over 48,000 cases and about over 2,400 deaths in Pennsylvania. United States is over a million, it looks like, if I'm looking at this correctly, on COVID-19 at this point. And deaths were at a little over 67,000, but there's been 150,000, over 150,000 people who have recovered. It looks like total confirmed cases of, I always say COVID, but I think it's COVID. Yeah, I think it is COVID. It's COVID, right? Coronavirus pandemic. Worldwide, it's over 3 million cases confirmed. 3 million cases confirmed, not deaths. 3 million cases confirmed. Over 243,000 deaths. Recovered over 100,000, something like that. Or over, I'm trying to look at these numbers, over 1 million, something like that, because I'm getting these numbers wrong. But you compare that to the stats from 1918, and they said part of what I was trying to mention to begin with, part of why they believe the Spanish flu resurfaced for no other reason was probably because people, like I said, this guy at work, his speculation is people just got tired of, being told what to do. And it was like, screw it. We're going to go out and we're going to be intermingle in large groups. And guess what happened? There was a second round, and the second round was really, really bad. It was worse than the first, and it was more deadly. So yeah, that's why it was almost 100 million people died, or 70 million people. I've read both on the Spanish flu. But the main thing is that people didn't listen. Now, is this even close to what we had before? Absolutely not. Is it really dangerous still? I would say yes. It is something that people do need to take seriously. Are they taking it seriously? Absolutely not. And that kind of does bother me. Right now, I'm going to end the show, but I'm trying to look of what would kind of sound good. So, you know what? Give me a moment, and I'm going to do a breather, and I'm going to listen to a couple Matt stuff, and then I'll be right back, and I will end my show at least 8 minutes early. All right. Hey, I did find something that I actually, right off the bat, of Matt's stuff. It's called 128. Here it comes now. I hope you enjoy Matt's music from musicteacherguy.com. Matthew Torrance. 128 is the piece I'm playing tonight. Have a good one. Hope to have you back again. This is Walter from iWalter, signing off from now.